The Rebbe's asked a question. How can we connect to God? We don't know who God is. Like a child who doesn't know who their father is. The Rebbe answers that we're here to reveal who our father is. This is what we need to reveal. To stop being orphans. The Rebbe's asked if everything already exists in God's thought. So it means that everything already is. The Rebbe says, correct, everything already is. We all exist in the most perfect state, from the side of God's desire. But we need to attain this through our work. And then the value will be much greater. The Rebbe's asked, what's the difference between Olam Hazeh, this world, and the world of Asiyah? The Rebbe says the delineation of this world, Olam Hazeh, is desire to receive in order to receive, without any giving. The realm of Asiyah is already a spiritual realm. There's the realm of Asiyah of holiness. There's also a realm of Asiyah of unholiness that corresponds. But the world of Asiyah, the realm of Asiyah is already spiritual. It's already a person who has become refined to some extent, above materiality, has done some fixings and rectifications of attaining the desire to give. The Rebbe's asks, is there no world and no beings outside of my consciousness? The Rebbe answers that we weren't given vessels or the ability to experience anything that's outside of our consciousness. Everything that we're experiencing is only in relation to our consciousness. We have here now over 150 people learning together. I promise you that if you speak with one another, you'll hear 150 different types of consciousness. Why? Because our sages say the same way that people don't look alike, so also our understandings are different. And this is something very beautiful. That every man and every woman is a precious treasure, a personality and consciousness that nobody else is alike in all the world. We need to know to appreciate ourselves. Every single one of us is a precious treasure. Because the unique consciousness of each person is what differentiates the person in this world and in the spiritual realms, in a personal aspect and in divine aspect. Every single one of us is an entire world. And God intended this in arranging the system this way. The Rebbe's asked, where is a person's soul found? The Rebbe answers, it's like you're asking me, where is God? Where actually is God? God is spiritual. So I can't say that God is in a particular place. The Rebbe of Kotsk would say, someone who doesn't take up any place is found everywhere. Someone who doesn't take up any place is found everywhere. So when we're speaking in terms of God, it's spirituality absolute. We can't delineate God at all in terms of space. And the same thing with a person's soul. Our soul is spiritual and is not bounded by space. But what? The question is, me, my personality, my person is built by body with certain characteristics, with mind, intelligence, certain IQ. The soul is divine light that's shining within myself. According to my development, I become able to experience this force that is called soul. And when this comes to expression within my system, comes to expression in my physical system, the force of the muscles, strength of the muscles, blood pressure, physical ways. And it also comes expression in the way the mind is working, the way our feelings, and our desires, and so on. If so, what am I saying to you now? I'm saying now that actually everything's dependent on my reception and experience. So I go back to the same point. The differences are in the vessel, not in the light. That all the differences are determined by my consciousness. So when I say that in this world there is a body and the light of life in it, this light of life is called nefesh, soul. What is the soul? The nefesh is light. The soul is light. Let's take, for example, electricity. There is electricity that comes in high voltage and also in low voltage, and the electricity comes into the house. And I make use of the electricity. If I make use of the electricity for a fan, or I connect to the electricity a tractor, is it the same thing? The tractor needs a lot more electricity than a small fan. So where's the difference? Is the difference in electricity? Or the difference is in the vessel that's receiving electricity? The difference is only in the vessel. There's all types of differences in quantity and in quality. But the differences are only in the vessel. So the same thing I want to say here. The divine light is here. And it is the essence of reality. How much do we experience this divine light? According to our vessels and our consciousness. A person who's sitting and eating pizza enjoys from the pizza. So now the divine light is shining to the person the pleasure from the pizza. The person isn't thinking about God or anything. They're simply thinking about the pleasure of the pizza. So this is the state that's possible for the person because of the state of their system at this moment. The person's system is built at this moment the person's system in this moment is set in a way that can experience the divine light in this way, as food and so on. Very physical, material. This is called the animal soul, meaning person from within the divine light, with the glory of which is filling all the world. This person is experiencing according to their vessels. This is what they're able to experience. Nothing more. Person who's more spiritually developed. What's more developed? First of all, the person's consciousness is higher, and therefore the person's desires and thoughts and feelings are requesting more. So from all of the divine light, the person is taking more in quantity and in quality. So where is the soul? It's not bounded by any space. What's bounded is the person with their vessels. And according to the development of the vessels, so that's the extent to which a person can experience the light. And that's what determines whether it's an animal soul or a divine soul, or level of ruach or neshama. There's also a nefesh that's from the other side, and a ruach from the other side, different soul levels. These are all functions of a person's consciousness. I hope this is clear. Things begin to happen here in our life according to our connection to Torah and mitzvot, according to our spiritual work. The Torah and mitzvot are material to work with, according to our attachment to holy books and holy people. Somebody's asking about despair. The Rebbe says there's no despair in the world at all. What are you talking about, despair? God is responsible that all the billions of people in the world will arrive to spiritual consciousness. There's nothing to worry about. It's not our responsibility, it's God's responsibility. Our responsibility is, first of all, to put into practice what we're learning about here. First of all, within our own lives, and in the circles that are close to us. The Rebbe's asked if in our physical life we can reach all the spiritual levels, including the level of Keter. And the Rebbe says, of course, yes. Not one person and not two people have arrived to this. The Rebbe's asked, what is a spiritual partsuf?
מדרגה, פרצוף זה פנים. אז כמו בגשמיות, אני הולך ברחוב, אני רואה הרבה פנים.
The Rebbe says a partsuf literally means a face. Like in our physical world that we see lots of faces.
כל פנים אומרים שיש מאחוריהם איזו אישיות אחרת.
Every face means that behind it there's a different personality.
אותו דבר ברוחניות,
Same
כל
thing
פנים.
in spirituality. Every partsuf, every face means there's a different aspect of divine experience.
שאלה נוספת משגיא טבעון.
Another question.
מה זה קבלה מעשית?
What is practical
מה ההבדל
Kabbalah?
בין קבלה מעשית?
What's the difference between practical Kabbalah and the Kabbalah that we're learning now?
הוא מאוד גדול.
The Rebbe says there's a big difference.
אנחנו לומדים עכשיו על המדרגות הרוחניות.
We're learning now about the spiritual levels
של הקדושה.
of holiness.
המדרגות הרוחניות של הקדושה.
The spiritual levels of holiness.
גרם ואהבת לרעך כמוך.
Their main aspect is to love one's friend as oneself.
ועניין של אמונה.
And having belief.
ככה שאלה הם ערכים מדויקים, מוסריים.
These are exacting levels
שבהם אנחנו צריכים להשתלם.
of perfecting one's character traits that we need to work on.
קבלה מעשית זה אומר
Practical Kabbalah means
שאנשים מנסים
that people are trying
להגיע
to arrive
להנאות חריפות
at very strong
דרך
pleasures
המדרגות הרוחניות הללו
through these spiritual levels
ולא בדרך הקדושה.
and not in the way of holiness.
משל למה הדבר דומה?
Like what's an example?
לאדם שמחפש לחוות
A person is
את
trying
ההנאות הכי חזקות בעולם
to
הזה.
experience very high pleasures in this
אז הוא
world,
לוקח כל מיני כדורים וסמים שעל
taking
ידיהם
drugs and different types of
מה
drugs.
משתנה אצלו? התודעה.
What changes the
מה הסמים
consciousness?
משנים? תודעה.
What do the drugs change? Consciousness. Nothing
אז
more.
הכדורים האלה משנים את התודעה של האדם, מכניסים אותה לטורים, מהלכים גבוהים.
So the drugs change the
ועל
consciousness
ידי זה הוא משיג הנאות גדולות.
and bring a person to experience high
אנחנו יודעים
pleasures.
שזה מפרק את המערכת.
We know that it breaks down the system
מדוע זה לא נעשה בצורה נכונה?
because it's not done in the correct way.
נעשה בדרך התורה
Everything is not
והמצוות,
done by the way of the Torah and the
שהיא
mitzvot,
בגדול נקראת
which
דרך
in
הקו האמצעי,
general is called
הוא
the
עלול לפרק את
central
המערכת.
way.
כל
can
צורת חיים שהיא
break
לא
down the
דרך
system.
הקדושה, היא אמורה
Everything that's not going in the way of holiness
לפרק
some time or
את
another
המערכת.
breaks down the
המערכת לא
system.
תחזיק מעמד.
The system doesn't hold up.
אז אותו דבר גם בעניין של קבלה
So
מעשית.
the same thing with practical
אנשים
Kabbalah.
נכנסים לתוך מדרגות רוחניות,
People are entering into spiritual
כאשר אין
levels,
הכוונה שלהם ללכת בדרך הקו האמצעי,
but not with the intention of going the way of the central column, the Kav Emsei,
ללכת או בימין בלי שמאל,
but to go either
או
in
בשמאל בלי ימין,
the right
כי
side
ההנאות
without the left side or the left side without the right side, because the pleasures there are huge.
שלהם מאוד מאוד חריפות, אבל זוהי דרך קצרה וארוכה.
The pleasures are very, very strong, but this is the short way that is the long way.
בסופו של דבר מתברר שזה לא מוביל לשום מקום.
Because at the end comes where that it doesn't bring us to anywhere.
מה שאין כן דרך התורה והמצוות היא דרך ארוכה וקצרה.
But the way of Torah and mitzvot, the way of spiritual work is the long way, that's the short way.
שואל, האם התודעה של אדם אחד משיגה את אותה מציאות שמשיג אדם אחר?
The Rebbe's asked if a person, their consciousness can experience what any other person is experiencing.
כן ולא.
The Rebbe answers yes and no.
מצד אחד,
From one side,
עכשיו יותר מ-150-160 איש,
now there's more than 150, 160 people that are listening to the
הם
same
שומעים
thing,
אותו אדם,
meaning they're hearing the same
מדבר
person,
את אותם דיבורים.
speaking the same words.
אז 160 איש משיגים את אותה השגה.
So 160 people are having the same experience.
אבל מה כל אחד מבין ממה שאני
But
מדבר?
what each person understands from what I'm
ואיך
saying,
כל אחד מרגיש,
and what each person
ממה שאני
feels
מדבר.
from what I'm saying,
זה משתנה מאדם לאדם.
is different from each person.
אז זאת אומרת,
So this means,
מבחינת המצב החיצוני,
from the outer reality,
כולם משיגים את אותה השגה.
we're all having the
גם
same
בעולמות
experience.
העליונים.
Also in the
כששני
spiritual
אנשים
realms,
מגיעים למדרגה מסוימת,
two people that arrive to the same spiritual realm,
נגיד,
say for
מדרגת
example,
בינה
they reach a level of Bina
של עולם הבריאה.
in the spiritual realm of Bria.
אם תסתכלו בסרטוט.
If you look on the picture.
אז כששני אנשים מגיעים למדרגה אחת,
so when two people reach the same level,
אז הם רואים את אותה ראייה.
They see the same thing.
והם חווים את אותה חוויה.
They have the same experience.
אבל מכיוון
since
שהתודעה של כל אחד היא אחרת,
the consciousness of everybody is different,
אז לכן החוויה מתקבלת אצל כל אחד באופן אחר.
experienced by everybody differently.
כשאנחנו אומרים שלעתיד לבוא,
when we say that in the future, we'll reach the light of Yechida,
אחד יחיד ומיוחד.
the one complete oneness.
זה אומר,
what does this mean?
שכולנו נגיע לרמת התודעה הגבוהה
ביותר. It means we'll all reach the highest level of consciousness.
שבסרטוט מספר אחד,
that in drawing number one,
זה כל הרוחב למעלה.
is the whole line above, meaning the tip of the yod,
ספירת הכתר,
the sphere of Keter,
פרצוף עתיק,
partsuf of Atik,
עולמות אדם קדמון,
the spiritual realm of Adam Kadmon,
ישראל וכו'.
Israel and so on.
אז אנחנו נשיג, כולנו נשיג,
all of us will attain
את המציאות האלוקית,
the divine reality,
במקסימום האפשרי,
in the maximum possible way,
שאין עוד מלבדו.
that there's nothing but God.
אז מהבחינה הזאת תהיה השגה אחידה.
So from this level, it'll be just one experience.
אבל ההשגה האחידה הזאת,
but this one experience
תתקבל
will be received
אצל כל איש וכל
by
אישה,
every single man and woman differently.
ככה הבורא רוצה.
That's how God wants
מדוע?
it. Why?
יש כאן פסיפס שלם.
There's here a
של תפיסות, אז יש פרייה ורבייה נפלאה, עד אין קץ ואין תכלית.
I think the Rebbe is saying that when we have all of these multitude experiences coming together and weaving together, it'll multiply in a way that is infinite and wonderful.
אנחנו נסיים כאן.
We'll end here.
עוד לא הגעתי לשאלות שלו.
Someone whose questions I haven't answered yet
יכול לשלוח לי את השאלות.
can send me the questions.
להתראות.
The Rebbe says goodbye.
מקווה שלמדתם טוב, תפנימו טוב.
Hopes the learning went well and that we can internalize it and put into practice.